Hi, everyone. I hope you had a good weekend and that changing the clocks for daylight savings time didn't throw you off too much. So if you have not yet submitted your final draft of the Module 2 essay as well as the reflection, remember that those are due by tonight, Monday night. And I know that we don't usually have anything due on Monday, so do let me know if that causes you any difficulties or if you have any questions. And of course, as you're working on any last-minute revisions, polishing essays, I can help out if you get to me soon enough. All right, so we are next starting Module 3. So this week's Module 3 is Exploring Complex Problems. And as the module's title indicates, we'll be considering how to explore complex problems and what resources are available to us to aid us in that exploration. So we do have quite a few Canvas pages to get through for today, that is for Tuesday. And so first on our presentations and demonstrations page, we have another presentation by my colleague, Dr. C. And once you've watched that, take a few minutes to go through the Introduction to Problem Solving website, which I have linked to on Canvas, on that same Canvas page. And that site takes you through some different steps and scenarios for solving problems, which you might find to be very helpful as you apply the ideas to the complex problem that you're focusing on this semester. So then the first assigned readings for Module 3 after the presentations page on Canvas are 3 TED Talk videos. Of course, I find TED Talks to be very enjoyable. And it's nice to get a change of pace by being able to watch something rather than reading it. So I do hope that you enjoy those as well. And once you watch those videos, we have a discussion activity in which you'll be drawing from what you learned from those TED Talks and then also applying those to what you've, applying all of what you've learned to your own chosen complex problem. And of course, remember to respond to classmates as well on that discussion within a day after your post is due. So then also on Tuesday, we have my mini lecture on peer-reviewed resources. And you're probably more used to peer review as referring to that class activity we do when you and your classmates give each other feedback on an essay. But peer review is also a process that a lot of academic work goes through, a lot of academic published work goes through. So take some time to read through my mini lecture on peer review, and then we'll follow that up with a quiz about peer-reviewed resources by Tuesday night. And of course, peer-reviewed sources provide us with some reliable, relevant information. So in academic settings, peer review means that something has been submitted and reviewed by scholars in that field for accuracy, for trustworthiness, and also for worth in the sense of it being worthwhile to read and to consider. So I've published some peer-reviewed articles, and in those cases, the reviewers, they were unknown to me. They read and provided feedback on my work, and they also did not know that I wrote the work. It was what we call double-blind peer review. And in many cases, authors are asked to revise something that is accepted for publication or revise something before it'll be accepted for publication, and that has happened in my experience as well. But not every source that we use is peer-reviewed. So in fact, most sources that we encounter on a daily basis are not peer-reviewed. So newspaper articles, for example, are not peer-reviewed. Magazine articles, a lot of websites, web content. So a lot of things might be looked at by an editor, but being looked at by an editor is not the same thing as the process we're talking about here with peer review. So you really, of course, should always ask yourself why you should trust something that you're reading, something that you're hearing. So, for example, if you read a news story about, let's say, a medical study that has appeared, you might not just trust the news article. Maybe it's accurate, but you might locate the original source and read that as well. There have actually been several times where I saw something in a news article about a study that they were discussing. And of course, sometimes I'm curious. I go look up the original study, and then I find that the news article had either misread or misinterpreted the study. So going back to the original source is often a good idea, and some of those peer-reviewed sources are often much more reliable. So once you do complete the mini lecture, then the quiz on peer-reviewed resources, make sure you take a few minutes to read through my mini lecture about developing a bibliography and research strategies. Because on Thursday of this week, you'll be developing an annotated bibliography. So I hope that my notes will be helpful for you as you prepare for that. So speaking of that, for Thursday, you will be completing an annotated bibliography of sources that you might be using for your final class project on the complex problem that you identified earlier this semester that you've been focusing on other assignments as well. And of course, although many of us probably associate bibliographies with the academic writing that we're doing, such as in this class, bibliographies are also actually very useful outside of the classroom environment. A bibliography is providing really a list of resources. And so this week you should find resources that are relevant to the complex problem that you identified at the start of the semester. And so in particular, consider sources that represent different perspectives. They give you a better understanding of the complex problem as well as possible solutions to that problem. And of course, you will be drawing on these resources for your final multimodal presentation on your complex problem at the end of the semester. So be sure to meet the minimum requirement for how many of them need to be peer-reviewed sources. There's a certain number that need to be peer-reviewed, so double check the instructions for that. And if you're unsure if a source is peer-reviewed or not, you can check with me. I'll take a look. I'm happy to help out. And of course, as I note in the instructions in Canvas, you should always plan on finding and reviewing more sources than you think you're going to really need. That way you can choose the best of those sources you find, or you're welcome to include more sources than are required. Then, of course, in addition to including a full citation for each of those sources and using either MLA or APA format, you'll also include an annotation for each source of about 3 to 4 sentences that is addressing what the source is about and also how it might be helpful for you with your focus on your complex problem. So if you have any difficulties, any questions at all, as you work on all of that this week, make sure you do let me know.